This is live from New Delhi. You're watching DT India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and coming up in the next 30 minutes. In a big push to boost ties, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen discussed trade and cooperation in New Delhi. India-EU free trade agreement by year-end. Second ministerial meeting of the India-EU Trade and Technology Council concludes. India-EU firm up new economic, trade and technology linkages. US President Donald Trump to host Ukraine's President Zelensky at White House to discuss agreements aimed at reconstruction of war-ravaged Ukraine post-end of conflict. And President Trump goes tough on tariffs, plans tariffs on Mexico, Canada, alongside additional 10% duty on Chinese imports. The top story. To further strengthening India-EU strategic partnership, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi met European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen in New Delhi earlier today. Prime Minister Modi welcomed European Commission President and the EU College of Commissioners at Hyderabad House in National Capital. The leaders also held delegation-level talks and later addressed a joint press meet where both leaders agreed to redefine their relationship and enhance partnership in areas of security, defense, artificial intelligence and trade. In fact, Prime Minister Modi said that several important decisions have been taken to elevate and accelerate the partnership.
Technology, investment, innovation, green growth, सिक्योरिटी, स्किलिंग और मोबिलिटी पर सहयोग का एक ब्लूप्रिंट तैयार किया गया है। हमने अपनी टीम्स को एक पारस्परिक लाभकारी बायलैटरल फ्री ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट को, एफटीए को इस वर्ष के अंत तक संपन्न करने का निर्देश दिया है।
And now we cut live across to MEA press conference to brief us about the outcomes of the recently concluded visit of European Commission Chief and Prime Minister Modi.
We are also joined by Additional Secretary Europe West in the Ministry of External Affairs, Shri Piyush Srivastava. With that, I give the floor over to Secretary West for his initial remarks. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you. The President of the European Commission, Her Excellency Ursula von der Leyen, accompanied by the College of Commissioners, are on official visit to India, as you all know. The 22 of the commissioners are part of the EC delegation, and this is really an unprecedented and a landmark visit on many counts. This is one of the first such visits by the College in its new mandate, and the first which has been outside Europe, and their new mandate, of course, began in December 2024. This visit signals the high priority that is attached by both sides to the strategic partnership that we share. And the visit of the entire college also highlights the very extensive breadth of our partnership and engagement. President von der Leyen met Prime Minister Modi, and the two leaders held extensive discussions, including in the delegation-level talks. In addition to these talks, there have been 20 individual ministerial meetings since yesterday, again something very unprecedented, where the College of Commissioners have met their counterpart ministers. These other meetings have included meetings of the bilateral cluster, the three meetings of the ministerial level for the three working groups of the Trade and Technology Council and the Trade and Technology Council Ministerial itself. 20 cabinet ministers and ministers of state from India also participated in the delegation level talks today. The themes covered in these bilateral ministerial engagements, in addition to the trade and FTA and digital green technologies to supply chains under the TTC, some of the other themes that were discussed were ranging from finance to renewable energy to environment, research and innovation to skilling and education, space to defense, connectivity and mobility, sustainable urbanization to water to fisheries, women empowerment to youth. So this really gives an idea of how extensive and broad-ranging the discussions were held at ministerial level, and this explains the breadth of our strategic partnership that we share. I would like to share some of the program elements briefly. Yesterday, upon arrival, President von der Leyen was received at the airport by Honorable Minister of State for Health and Family Welfare, Srimati Anupriya Patel, and was accorded a ceremonial reception and a cultural welcome. Thereafter, she visited Rajghat to pay tributes to Mahatma Gandhi. External Affairs Minister had called on the President von der Leyen last evening. Today, the plenary meetings were followed by a banquet lunch hosted by the Prime Minister in honor of President von der Leyen and the College of Commissioners. And later this evening, the Confederation of Indian Industry, CII, will host a business event with leaders of industry, and they will also host a dinner for the delegation. Earlier today, the President von der Leyen, she experienced the digital payment transaction, UPI, at one of the venues. And the College of Commissioners also traveled by the hydrogen bus to the venue. These two areas, of course, digital transformation and green energy transition, are areas where India is developing our capabilities very quickly. And also these are areas, some of the key areas where India and EU are collaborating very closely. Among the outcomes, there has been a leader's statement, which will be, I understand, will be issued shortly. It highlights the important context of the visit and the significance, and also the guidance that has been provided by the leaders to their teams to take the strategic partnership forward in very, very substantial ways. Some of the key outcomes relate to trade, investment, technology, mobility, connectivity, defense, and these broad themes. In a major outcome, the leaders have directed their teams that the India-EU FTA should be concluded within the year. This is, of course, a very important outcome, as negotiations have been ongoing on this aspect. There has also been very clear progress on the different working groups under the Trade and Technology Council. These working groups, just to refresh your memory, the themes are from strategic technologies, digital governance and digital connectivity, that is working group 1. Then green and clean energy technologies, and that is the working group 2. And trade, investment and resilient value chains is the theme of the working group 3. And there has been very extensive discussions and progress in all three of these tracks. On technology further, there has been progress in the implementation of the MOU on semiconductors, from boosting supply chains to facilitating talent exchange and skilling. And also there has been MOU between the Bharat 6G Alliance and EU 6G Smart Networks and Service Industry Associations, and extensive discussions were held on taking these cooperation forward. There is also a deepening collaboration between the India AI Mission and the European AI Office. On clean and green energy, there is joint funding been announced of 60 million euros for research projects ranging from electric vehicles to plastics, marine plastics, and also to projects on waste to energy, especially to green hydrogen. There has been progress on the third phase of the work plan on clean energy and climate partnership that India and EU share. And an India-EU Green Hydrogen Forum will be held, and India-EU Business Summit on offshore wind energy is also planned. Another area of collaboration, important collaboration, has been connectivity, and in that sphere, both sides discussed the significance of the IMEC connectivity initiative and various ways to take this forward. On the defense and security domain, especially maritime security, the EU has decided to join India's Indo-Pacific Ocean Initiative, IPOI, and EU is also joining as an observer or a dialogue partner in the IORA initiative. There was also discussions and cooperation on improving maritime domain awareness, especially the cooperation between fusion centers in terms of sharing information. Similar cooperation was discussed between the Indian Navy and the Operation Aspides of European Union. There was also discussion on how India could join projects under the EU's Permanent Structured Cooperation, which is called the PESCO, EU's Security and Defense Program. It was also decided to hold focused discussions on defense industrial partnerships going forward. An India-EU space dialogue will be launched soon, and both sides also decided to pursue trilateral cooperation projects both in Africa and also in the Indo-Pacific region. This area has been another important area of collaboration, since both India and EU have extensive development partnership program across various geographies, and both sides have now decided to pursue such cooperation projects. The leaders' statement and the Trade and Technology Council joint statement will be shared with you. I would like to add some more on the recent interactions that have been held between the two sides, and some of the background information relating to the extent of our partnership. Among the recent interactions, of course, last Friday, External Affairs Minister had met the EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs, HRVP, Ms. Kaya Kallas, in Johannesburg on the sidelines of the G20 Foreign Ministers meeting. Last month, Commerce and Industry Minister had traveled to Brussels to hold detailed talks on talks with the EU Trade Commissioner, Maros Sefcovic, who was also part of the college visiting currently. Prime Minister Modi and President von der Leyen have met 7 times earlier, both in terms of bilateral settings, but also multilateral settings, for example, G7 and G20 meetings. This was the 3rd visit of President von der Leyen to India as the EC President. Her previous visits were in September 2023 during the G20 summit, and earlier in April 2022 in a standalone bilateral visit. In recent months, for example, if we just look at last 18 months, there have been more than 110 interactions at the head of state, head of government, and ministerial level between India and Europe. This is a very, very substantial number, of course, and it shows the extent of the intensifying and diversifying engagement between India and countries and regions of Europe and member states of the EU. Between India and EU, there are 30 bilateral institutional dialogue mechanisms which meet regularly at the senior official level. Our strategic partnership is completing 20 years. It was started in 2004, and now the two sides, the two leaders, have decided to accelerate and elevate this partnership further. The trade, technology, talent, innovation, investment, green transition, defense production, security, and resilient supply chains are some of the key areas of our strategic partnership. India's largest trading partner in goods is the European Union. The trade in goods has nearly doubled over the last decade to reach a figure of US $135 billion. and the figure has grown 3 times over the past 2 decades. Trade in services stands at around $53 billion. EU is a major investment partner for India. EU's collective FDI into India is nearly $120 billion since the year 2000. And India's investment into the EU is also growing, and it is now estimated at around US dollars 40 billion. If we look at the business cooperation, there are an estimated 6,000 companies from EU countries which have active business presence in India. And similarly, around 1,200 Indian companies are estimated to have business presence in EU countries. So this is a very, very substantial trade, investment, and business partnership that we share. Another very important element is the people-to-people contact. The Indian diaspora in the European Union continues to grow. It is estimated at around 1.65 million currently. And this includes 120,000 Indian students as estimated. So these are some of the numbers that give you the extent of the close strategic partnership that we share. And as I mentioned, in the outcomes today, the areas were really trade in terms of the announcement on the timelines for FTA, the concrete progress achieved in the Trade and Technology Council among various technology tracks ranging from artificial intelligence to semiconductors to quantum computing, high-performance quantum computing, the connectivity relating to IMEC initiative, the EU's joining of IPOI, Indo-Pacific Ocean Initiative, the push on green hydrogen, and the furthering of cooperation in the sphere of space cluster. So these are some of the areas that have that are really taking this strategic partnership forward. And as I mentioned, this has been really historic and unprecedented in terms of the range of interactions that were held at the same time at the leaders level and also at the ministerial level, with 22 commissioners from the EU traveling to India and 20 ministers taking part in the delegation level talks, and also 20 bilateral meetings over the last one and a half days. So this will be completing my initial briefing.
We are now open for questions. Okay, so Ayushi first. We'll take three questions.
So this is Ayushi from AN. I just wanted to know how much was Russia-Ukraine discussed between the two leaders, and also was there any discussion on the enforcement of sanctions, enforcement of EU sanctions on Russia?
Mm-hmm. Sudhi.
Sir, thank you. Sudhiranjan from Bloomberg. Two questions, sir. One, in the free trade agreement, when setting the date, did the two leaders or the two sides have any discussion on spirits, motor vehicles export? Because that is one of the issues that has been stalling this entire issue. And if so, has there been any commitment from either side to look into it? And on the IMEC, sir, was Israel-Gaza war discussed, and any chance of relooking at the routing of IMEC?
Shubham.
Hi, sir. Shivam from Reuters. Was the carbon border mechanism discussed at all in terms of the EU, and could there be any possibility of any flexibility for India in that? That's, yeah.
Elena, you had a question?
Yes, good afternoon. Elena, TASS News Agency. I wonder in what form European side raised the issue of sanctions. And as we saw in the media, there were a lot of publications with the reference to European sources that during this visit, the delegation from EU will raise this issue, sanctions against Russia. So in what form does the European side raise this issue, and how do you react to their form of? So do you feel some kind of pressure from their side on this particular issue?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll come back for more questions. You can take these questions.
Okay, so CBAM. Well, CBAM, of course, is a concern for a large number of countries, especially in the global south. We have highlighted our concerns to our EU partners on a number of occasions. We have also noted that the EU has made some modifications to CBAM framework to simplify some of the aspects. And we are examining the implications of that. And we hope that the concerns of the developing country partners will be taken into account and addressed suitably in any such scheme. On the FTA, of course, the two sides discussed there was a ministerial separate meeting, and also the main talks. The emphasis was on how to get the FTA done quickly, and there was a clear political commitment and agreement to do it quickly. And that is also reflected in the directions that were given by the leaders to the two sides. On IMEC, yes, IMEC, both sides interest strong interest in pursuing the project, which will bring together the India and Europe in a major connectivity route. And the discussion was how to take this forward, despite the problems that may be being faced at the moment. There is also progress going on in different aspects of IMEC at the same time. In any meeting of global leaders, the issues of international global interests of mutual concern and mutual interest are discussed. And relating to the issue, your question about sanctions, no, that was not discussed.
Okay. Siddhant?
Hi, so Siddhant from Beyond. How much was the issue of cross-border terrorism, that basically means terrorism from Pakistan, being discussed? Because early today, at an address in Delhi, she mentioned about that. And second question, how much the focus or emphasis was on China during the talks?
Rishikesh?
Sir, Rishikesh from PTI. So, was there any discussion held on threat posed by Chinese equipment, and is there any consensus on how India and EU can reduce the dependency on Chinese products, especially as President has mentioned that we should promote the dependable supply chain?
Ram Prakash?
सर ब्रह्म प्रकाश दुबे न्यूज़ इंडिया से। मेरा सवाल है कि वीज़ा को लेकर जो डिस्कशन हुआ है भारत और ईयू के बीच, वो किस तरह का डिस्कशन हुआ है, किस तरह का बेनिफिट होगा, क्योंकि स्टूडेंट्स को बहुत सारी परेशानी जाती है अभी खासतौर से यूरोपियन कंट्रीज में वीज़ा लेने के लिए। थैंक यू।
केशव?
Thank you, sir. Keshav Padmanabhan from the Print. Two questions. One, when you say that regional and global issues were discussed, were there any pointed discussions on the situation in our neighborhood with regards to Bangladesh? Was any of this raised at the political level with the European Union? And secondly, when we talk about the free trade agreement, we've heard a lot about the EU's concerns, wine, spirits, automobiles. Can you give us a sense of what are India's concerns when it comes to tariffs, especially the EU's protectionism with regards to its own agricultural market? So can you sort of give us a sense of what India's issues with EU's FTA, with this FTA is? Thank you.
Rishabh?
Hello. Good evening, Secretary. Rishabh from Time. So just a related question. A senior EU official has mentioned that without agreement on cars, wines and spirits, an FTA is very unlikely. So they are pushing for tariff cut on import of car, wines and spirit. So are we ready to accommodate it, and where is the negotiation right now? Because this has been a constant message coming in from Brussels that India needs to cut tariff on these issues. A and B, so, as Siddhant asked, on cross-border terrorism, there have been a lot of discussion between India and EU on terrorism. Was there any concrete thing, given that we are also talking about a roadmap from 2025?
Sir. Thank you. I think several questions on FTA. See, if I mentioned recently, last month, Commerce and Industry Minister had traveled to Brussels, where he held talks with his counterpart, Trade Commissioner Sefcovic. Trade Commissioner is here, part of the EU delegation. The next round of the talks are also due soon. There is extensive and very intense negotiation going on, and the political direction is clear. Now, I would not like to go into the details on individual products. That is for the negotiators to resolve. But both sides have agreed that this is an important FTA. It has to be done quickly, and it has to be done in a balanced and a mutually beneficial and equitable manner. The question on visas. There are regular discussions on visa and consular issues between India and EU. This was also discussed during this visit. Last year, the EU had announced a Schengen cascade visa scheme that is aimed at facilitating longer-term visas for frequent travelers from India. And separately, India and EU member states have also been discussing what are known as the mobility and migration agreements to facilitate the growing legal pathways for our professionals, skilled workers who are increasingly in demand in EU countries, and also students. So many of these things are already being done. India and EU also has a separate mechanism, I mean not only the individual countries, but India and EU, which is called the CAMM, and there again many of these issues are taken up. There is a clear agreement that this is a mutually beneficial area, and we must try and explore ways where trained talent can, find a facilitated pathway from India to Europe because of the requirements and how the European technology and Indian talent can match each other. So there have been very positive discussions on this sector. And you may know that mobility partnership agreements have India and some of the countries in the EU have already signed up. We have done agreements with Germany, France, Italy, Portugal, Austria, and Denmark, who are among the EU members. So this is a very active area of discussion and cooperation going forward. India is also the largest recipient of their Blue Card scheme and the scholarships, for example, under the Erasmus framework. So we are very much looking forward to further facilitation of this area, which is in mutual interest. The supply chains and the resilient supply chains has been a very important area of discussion between India and the European Union. And as I mentioned, the Working Group 3 from the Trade and Technology Council actually focuses on these aspects. So yes, the resilience, how to make the supply chains resilient, what will it imply for various technology sectors, manufacturing sectors in different areas, engineering, defense, so many other aspects was discussed and is being taken forward very, very strongly by both sides. Yes, terrorism was discussed. It is an important area when we discuss the security issues, and they form an important aspect of our discussions. Both sides are very conscious of the need for deepening cooperation in controlling and combating terrorism, including its financing. And they collaborate at various platforms, individually and in a multilateral context, to take this cooperation forward. I think I have covered the questions.
Yeah. We'll take some more questions. So John there.
Thank you. John Reed from the FT. Ms. von der Leyen spoke about setting a deadline by both sides of concluding the FTA by the end of this year. Can you confirm that that's indeed India's goal as well? And if so, is that a realistic goal, given all the issues that divide the two sides? Thank you.
Raghavendra.
Raghavendra Verma from ZDF German Television. My question is also regarding FTA. So has something changed in the last few years, or that brings the confidence between the two sides that it will be easier to conclude? Recently there have been these tariff disruptions from the United States. Does it make it easier or difficult for the two countries, two partners, to conclude this FTA? And so there are specific, you have not gone into the specifics of the products, but these products are aligned to many of the member countries in the EU. Is India also discussing such issues with the individual countries in the EU to make this faster and happen? And lastly, sir, India-UK FTA is said to be much easier to sign than the India-EU, and that has also not happened for so long, sir. Is there any progress on that? Is it will be happening soon also?
We have a question right behind. Yeah.
Alexander Besuk, Российская газета Russia. I was wondering, has the Ukrainian conflict come up during the negotiations, specifically in the context of US-Russian negotiations that had taken place recently? And secondly, if I may, since US President Donald Trump has threatened both India and EU with new tariffs, has the issue of US approach towards global trade been discussed? Thank you.
Last question there, Abir.
Sir, this is Ubir from the Tribune. Sir, my question is, you said that this delegation from Europe traveled in this hydrogen bus. Can you please elaborate what was the idea behind it?
Sir.
Okay, so regarding the hydrogen bus, of course, the Thank you. Of course, the idea behind hydrogen bus was to show the extent of work that is ongoing in terms of renewable energy and green technologies, green transition is very much part of India's priorities. We have set very ambitious renewable energy targets, and green hydrogen will form a very important sector in our pathway towards those targets. And that is also one of the areas where Europe and India, EU and India, have a lot of expertise, technology, collaboration to share, which is ongoing. And this shows both the growing capabilities in terms of technology, its use for, in this case, public mobility in India, and the interest, this being an area of interest for both the sides. So that was the idea behind the bus ride. On the FTA, of course, the negotiations have been ongoing with when you have two large economies, two very diverse economies, and on one side EU, which comprises of 27 member states. The negotiations will take time, but there has been a clear determination and clear decision by the leaders today that the FTA has to be finalized within the year. So there is no doubt upon that. This was also This is also reflected in the leader's statement. And as you mentioned, it was also mentioned during the press remarks done by the leaders. So there is a clear direction available now, which is always helpful when the negotiators meet. It helps resolve many difficult questions sometimes, and we are very confident that this will be done. In terms of your question regarding various products, etc., that is a given. I mean, there are different concerns for both sides, always are in any negotiation, especially in trade negotiations. But as I said, now the decisive, clear mandate has been given by the leaders to their teams. On other global issues, as I mentioned, the global issues of mutual interest are always part of the discussions. But if you really see, this visit has been about the strategic partnership between India and EU and how to both elevate it and accelerate it going forward by the two sides. Just if you see the extent of the bilateral meetings that took place, 20 ministerial bilateral meetings, 20 ministers and 22 commissioners being there during the talks. So the focus was clearly and very firmly on what India and EU are doing together and what we can do together and how we can further deepen this partnership going forward. So that was the focus of this visit.
Thank you, sir. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the close of this press briefing. Thank you very much for your participation.
So that was the live broadcast of the briefing by Secretary West, Mr. Tanmay Lal, giving an overview of the deliverables and major outcomes of the European Commission Chief's Ursula von der Leyen visit to India. He said that there were 22 EU commissioners which were part of the big delegation led by Ursula von der Leyen. And India there, remember, particularly describing the visit as unprecedented and landmark, quote unquote, in many counts, in a clear indication how both sides are committed to firming up the rubric of strategic partnership between India and EU. Well, that has been a clear focus of this visit as per India's MEA. Well, this is also the first visit outside Europe by the EU Commission that sort of highlights how this visit signals high priority accorded by both sides. So also, the EU College of Commissioners visit, as per the MEA, underscores extensive breadth of engagement that is now more well defined between India and EU. In fact, he also shared the important details of the engagements, which includes at least 20 individual ministerial meetings. There were bilateral clusters plus 3 working groups of trade and technology council, especially the trade, massive movement or forward movement in trade, in FTA space, in digital finance, a wide range of engagements ranging from environment to research and development, skilling, space, defense, connectivity, mobility, youth. Well, this was an overview of the array of extensive and broad-ranging discussions between the two sides. Talking about the big outcomes in an important context of the visit, as reiterated by Secretary West, guidance to the respective teams, India and EU, by the top leadership to take the partnership, the FTA partnership forward, especially in trade, in investment, in technology, in mobility, and the broader themes that were discussed. But yes, of course, the major outcome or the major deliverable on the table has been this big trust as far as India-EU free trade agreement is considered, and that should be concluded within an year, as spelled out by the MEA. There was also a clear political will and commitment shown by both sides to take it forward. Also, he explained how very important outcomes also included the discussions under Trade and Technology Council ambit, where progress on IMAC, that was very important. A couple of questions by reporters on IMAC also, the deeper collaboration between India and EU in artificial intelligence space and also in green clean energy. India-EU Green Hydrogen Forum, he said, will be held very soon, and there has been a considerable amount of progress on clean energy and climate partnership, in a way firming up India-EU connectivity collaboration. And both sides also reiterated the significance of IMEC connectivity initiative and ways to take it forward. He also added towards the conclusion part that this has been the third visit of Ursula von der Leyen as EU chief to India. There are already existing 30 bilateral institution cooperation mechanisms between India and EU, and well, that was an overview of the range of extensive interaction between the Indian side led by Prime Minister of India Narendra Modi and of course EU Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen. And now let's move on to, we're staying with the same top story, and let's get you some more updates. Earlier, Prime Minister Modi stressed that growing cooperation on issues related to defence and security is a symbol of mutual trust. In fact, both leaders agreed to take forward cooperation on a safe Indo-Pacific and maritime security.
इंडो-पैसिफिक क्षेत्र में शांति, सुरक्षा, स्थिरता और समृद्धि के महत्व पर दोनों पक्ष एकमत है। इंडो पैसिफिक ओशंस इनिशिएटिव्स, इससे जुड़ने के ईयू के निर्णय का हम स्वागत करते हैं। इंडो पैसिफिक और अफ्रीका में सस्टेनेबल और समावेशी विकास के लिए हम साथ मिलकर ट्रायंगुलर डेवलपमेंट प्रोजेक्ट्स पर काम करेंगे।
Prime Minister Modi also highlighted people-to-people connect as the strongest asset of India-EU relationship. Prime Minister added that India's young talent and Europe's innovation can together create limitless possibilities.
India's young talent and Europe's innovation can together create limitless possibilities. हम EU की नई वीजा कैस्केड रेजिम का स्वागत करते हैं। इससे भारत के टैलेंटेड युवाओं की एबिलिटी को बेहतर मोबिलिटी मिलेगी।
European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen underscored the strategic importance of the European Union's relationship with India, adding that India is a certain pillar in the world of uncertainty.
For Europe, India is a pillar of certainty in an increasingly uncertain world. We know that authoritarian states are getting bolder, ignoring borders, threatening peace at sea. Now is the time to step up our security and defense cooperation on land, at sea and in space. For example, cybersecurity has never been as crucial as today. Our cyber dialogue offers a platform for effective cooperation and information exchanges, because threats are evolving, becoming more sophisticated by the day.
Let's now move on to some other news. Renowned American physicist Dr. Brian Greene is in national capital, where he visited Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi, or IIT Delhi. He interacted with students and faculty members at the prestigious institute. Also visited the Research and Innovative Park of IIT Delhi, which is dedicated to startups, technology, innovations and young entrepreneurs. Greene lauded IIT's world-class technology infrastructure or tech infrastructure and said that India is becoming leader in the field of technology.
It was a wonderful visit here to the IIT to speak with faculty and to speak with a number of the students. There's so much energy, there's so much innovation, there's so much creativity, and it's really wonderful to see this upswell of interest in science and technology, because ultimately that is the future of our world. This institute is really world class. I mean, to have the number of faculty at the level of those faculty and attracting the greatest minds in India to be students here, it's a wonderful thing to see. India clearly is in a rapid growth phase and is becoming a leader on the world stage in science and technology. So it's absolutely wonderful to see. We had some time with the students and they are so excited to be able to learn the cutting edge of ideas, ultimately to change the way we live. And that's what science and engineering are all about.
Also, co-founder of Luke Coutinho Holistic Healing Systems, Luke Coutinho is in national capital, where he visited Integrated Child Development Services program operating in the Kusumpur Pahari area of Delhi. The ICDS program primarily focuses on providing nutritional support and healthcare services to young children, pregnant women and lactating mothers. Coutinho praised Prime Minister Modi's vision for health at grassroots level and lauded Prime Minister Modi's reduce oil challenge to overcome obesity.
I am so humbled by our Prime Minister Narendra Ji Modi's vision for health at a grassroots level of children in our country, and the amazing work that all of these ladies are doing to improve nutrition across children, not just children, but pregnant women and their journey right through, hand-holding them through, because the foundation of health in our country it starts from a grassroots level. And I am so impressed to be here to see the amount of effort that's gone in science, wisdom, and technology. Obesity has become literally like an epidemic in our country. We have diabetes, pre-diabetes, all that leads to obesity. Our Honorable Prime Minister is absolutely right in his vision to combat this. What do we need to overcome obesity? Number one, start at a child level. Get their nutrition right from the time they're children. The right education across platforms and different languages in our diverse country. The right education, not influencer education. Number three, we need access to local foods, local superfoods that grow in our own country. We have pure ghee. We have millets, which our Prime Minister, Honorable Modi ji, is promoting for the right reasons. We have the whole portion tracker nutrition program, everything that's being run by the Government of India and the Health Ministry. To overcome obesity, our Prime Minister has spoken about a reduction in edible oil in our foods by 10 to 15%. For that, we need awareness and mindfulness. Ghar ka khana has to be promoted in our country. We should cook our own food. We should support, women can cook, men can also cook. All men should learn how to cook simple food.
Okay. In the second advanced estimates of annual gross domestic product for 2024-25, India's real GDP has been estimated to grow by 6.5%, and this growth has been contributed by double-digit growth rates in manufacturing sector in particular. While nominal GDP is expected to witness a growth rate of 9.9% in fiscal year 2024-25, both growth rates are revised upward from their respective first advanced estimates. Construction sector is estimated to observe a growth rate of 8.6%. Private final consumption expenditure is expected to register a good growth of 7.6%. However, nation's real GDP growth rate of 9.2% for 2023-24 is the highest in the previous 12 years, except for the year 2021-2022. And coming up on this edition of DT India Live, coming up next, we get you more on UK Prime Minister Starmer discussing bilateral ties along with tough and fair Ukraine peace deal with President Trump.
India is known as the land of yoga. Few extraordinary individuals have taken this magic of ancient wisdom to people around the world.
Paramahansa Yogananda taught that, the basic law of right human behavior is self-reform. And that means if we can put the majority of our effort to changing ourselves for the better, then we will influence others in the world by our example. India has its ancient teachings of yoga have a real place to play in the developing world civilization. And what it means to be a global citizen, to consider the whole world kind of in your embrace.
You're watching DT India Live. I'm Sakal, but now let's move on to more news and updates. US President Donald Trump is all set to host Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House on Friday and sign a deal granting Washington access to Ukraine's rare minerals this coming week after dubbing his Ukrainian counterpart as a dictator. The deal would see the United States jointly developing Ukraine's mineral wealth, with revenues going to a newly created fund that could be joined for Ukraine and America. But how much the deal would be worth to the United States is yet not clear. President Trump has said he expects to gain hundreds of billions of dollars, while President Zelensky says he would not sign an agreement that would put his country in debt for generations. Zelensky, who gained billions of dollars worth of US weaponry and moral support from the previous Biden administration, is facing a sharply different attitude from the Trump administration, who says he wants to quickly wind down the 3-year conflict, improve ties with Russia, and recoup billions spent to support Ukraine. Also earlier on Thursday, President Trump met UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer for the first time since US President Trump took office. The meeting was focused on Ukraine and Britain's bilateral ties. The two leaders discussed tough and fair Ukraine peace deal with President Trump. Starmer emphasized that Britain was ready to provide military support to back it.
Discussed a plan today to reach a peace that is tough and fair, that Ukraine will help shape, that's backed by strength to stop Putin coming back for more. And I'm clear that the UK is ready to put boots on the ground and planes in the air to support a deal, working together with our allies, because that is the only way that peace will last.
Further, President Trump said that minerals deal with Ukraine is the security guarantee Kyiv needs against Russia, brushing aside a plea from Starmer for a commitment of US military support. Starmer is the latest European leader to meet Trump after French President Emmanuel Macron, who visited the White House on Monday and talked about Ukraine. US and UK leaders also discussed bilateral ties, on which Trump highlighted that both countries are working for a bilateral trade agreement, while Starmer emphasized the deal will strengthen trading relationship between the two countries.
Will once again demonstrate the power of our country's unique friendship. This is indeed a unique friendship. It's been many years, and I think it's only gotten stronger, and we will make sure that it stays that way. We're going to have a great trade agreement. One way or the other, we're going to end up with a very good trade agreement for both countries. And we're working on that as we speak.
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has invited more than a dozen European and European Union leaders to a Sunday summit to drive forward action on Ukraine and security. Office of British Prime Minister says that Prime Minister Starmer will chair a morning call with Baltic nations before welcoming Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to Downing Street. Leaders will discuss the next steps in planning for security guarantees and how to strengthen Ukraine's current position with military support. US President Donald Trump has vowed to enforce sweeping new tariffs on Mexico, on Canada and China, citing the ongoing fentanyl crises. Speaking from the Oval Office on Thursday, President Trump confirmed that a 25% tariff on Mexican and Canadian goods will take effect on 4th of March, alongside an additional 10% duties on the Chinese imports. This latest move comes as President Trump accuses all three nations of failing to curb the flow of deadly drugs into US. Notably, the fresh China tariffs will stack atop a previous 10% duty imposed and February 4th, raising the total of 20%. When asked whether Mexico and Canada had made sufficient progress in curbing fentanyl shipments, President Trump stated that he did not see any improvement and emphasized that the drug problem still persists. Now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. An attack occurred outside a multi-sporting center in Mexico, one of the deadliest state of Guanajuato, killing 2 police officers and injuring 3 others, including 1 policeman. Police has cordoned off the area and investigating the attack. Thousands of people took to streets in various cities of Greece on Friday, protesting against the deadly train crash of 2023 that killed 57 people. The protesters expressed anger after an inquiry found out that the loopholes that caused the accident have not been addressed. A purple alert, one of the highest threat warning, was issued by authorities in the Reunion Island on Friday as cyclone Garance, with gusts more than 200 km/h, approached the island. Residents were urged to stay alert and follow safety instructions. Over 5,000 visitors cheered for 320 debutante pairs at the Opera Ball organized in Vienna. Dressed in black and white costumes, the pairs enthralled the visitors as they cheered for their performance. The women debutantes were also carrying bouquets, adding vibrancy to the black and white dress code.
sueño.
Iconic Vienna's Opera Ball. And with that, that's it in this edition of DD India Live. But you do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. In fact, we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.